This story is called My Wife Changed the Locks While I Was Away. She told me she found someone better, and 4 days later, she was begging me to talk. Hey everyone, before we dive into today's video, I need your support. The channel has been losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help. It's quick, free, and it keeps us bringing you great content. Your support means a lot. Let's keep growing this channel together. Thanks so much. Now let's get started with the video. All right, boys, get ready because this one's going to be a wild ride. So, I'm a 34-year-old man, and I was married to V. Asais, 32, for 8 years. We met back in college when we were both pretty broke. She was a quiet accounting major. Cute, but not stunning or anything. Just a girl with big dreams and a bigger attitude. I was a business major with decent family connections and just enough cash to avoid living on ramen every day. We got married right after graduation. Nothing fancy, just the courthouse and dinner after, paid for by my parents because her family didn't have much. I should have seen that as a red flag from the start. She was always obsessed with money and status, even back then. Anyway, fast forward to 2 months ago. I was doing great at my job, with a corner office, company card, nice bonuses, and all that. Fox was doing well too, working at a finance firm downtown. It was funny how she kept getting promotions every 8 to 10 months, while everyone else took years to move up, like someone was pulling strings behind the scenes. It was M. Lau. Our marriage was all right, nothing amazing, but not awful either. We did the usual dinner with friends, posted vacation pics, all that Instagram perfect stuff. But something always felt off. Like she was just going through the motions, waiting for something better to come along. Then I landed a huge project in Portland 2 weeks away from home, with the potential for big money if I pulled it off. Before I left, VI played the supportive wife role, making me my favorite dinner, buying me new luggage, even throwing in a little surprise bedroom fun the night before I left. "You're going to crush it, babe. I believe in you," she kept saying. The first week was normal. Video chats every night. She asked about my meetings, told me about her day, sent pics of the dinners she made, though let's be honest, they were probably ordered in. But then week 2 hit, and things started to get weird. Her texts became very short. I'd send paragraphs about how the project was going and get back nice or sounds good. Our calls, which used to last 30 to 40 minutes, were cut down to 8 minutes. Always with her saying she was tired from work or had early meetings. Then, during one video call, I noticed something different in our living room. We had this coral throw pillow that Vi loved, like we used to argue about it when friends came over. But suddenly, it was gone, replaced by this fancy black and gold one I'd never seen before. "What happened to the coral pillow?" I asked. "Oh, that old thing just needed a change," she shrugged. "Yeah, convenient timing." That's when I heard it, a man's laugh in the background. "Who's that?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Just the TV," she said. "But I set up our entertainment system myself, and our TV sound comes through a Sonos soundbar with very specific audio." That was definitely a real person laughing. She ended the call a few minutes later. Over the next few days, things got even stranger. She stopped answering my goodnight texts. Her location sharing, which we always had on for safety, suddenly turned off. Her Instagram stories showed angles of our living room that she never used. I swear I saw a man's watch on our coffee table in one of them. But I didn't say anything, I just watched and waited. Since I sensed something was off, I decided to wrap up my work early and fly back home. My flight landed at 2 p.m. on a Thursday. I texted her, as usual, just landed. No response, which was strange because she always replied to that. It had been our thing for years. The Uber ride home felt like forever. I kept checking my phone, refreshing it every 30 seconds, wondering if I'd missed her reply. Nothing. I got to the house, dragged my suitcase up the driveway, and tried to open the door. The lock wouldn't work. I thought maybe I was just tired from the flight, so I tried again. The lock was completely different. I was so confused. Who the hell changed the locks? I thought. Then my phone buzzed. It was a message from Six. I found someone better. Don't bother trying to come in. I've moved on. I looked up at the security camera I'd installed myself last summer and saw the red light on, meaning someone was watching the live feed. She was inside, watching me stand there like an idiot with my suitcase. 8 years of marriage, just gone like that. But here's the crazy part. I didn't feel shocked or upset. I felt strangely calm, like a part of me had known this would happen eventually. So instead of pounding on the door or causing a scene, I took a deep breath, stared into the camera, and typed, "Are you sure about that?" She started typing, but I grabbed my suitcase and walked away. No drama, no begging, no emotional breakdown, just me, rolling my suitcase down the driveway like I was checking out of a bad hotel. As I walked, I could see the typing dots on my phone. Her trying to respond but not knowing what to say. I'm sure she expected me to lose it, give her the satisfaction of seeing me break down. Not going to happen. What she didn't realize is that I'd been quietly preparing for this moment for years. All the doors that magically opened for her career, the investments she thought she controlled, the lifestyle she'd gotten so comfortable with, I built it all, and I could take it all down just as easily. So after walking away from my own house like some kind of badass, well, not really, I was just too shocked to react, I checked into a Holiday Inn about 10 minutes away. Nothing fancy, but I needed somewhere to crash and think about what to do next. First thing I did was call my buddy Mac. We've been tight since sophomore year of college. He was my roommate after my first one dropped out. Mac's always been the guy who knows everyone's business and isn't afraid to tell you the brutal truth. "Dude, where the hell are you?" he asked when he picked up. "Your location shows you're at a hotel." I gave him the short version of what happened, and he went quiet for a moment. "Give me an hour. I'll call you back." While I waited for Mac, I did some investigating of my own. Six was never tech-savvy. I literally had to set up her work email signature for her last year. So I logged into our shared cloud storage account, and boom, she was still using the same password I set up 3 years ago. Amateur move. I started scrolling through recently added photos, and there they were. Dozens of pictures of VI with some guy I'd never seen before. At our house, on our couch, the couch I paid for with my bonus last year. Some of these photos were from weeks ago, including nights when I was away on business or working late. There were even a couple from when I was literally on video calls with her. I could see the laptop open in the background while she cuddled up with this guy. So all those times she said she was too tired to talk and needed to go to bed early, she was in our bed with this guy, 2 minutes after hanging up with me. My phone buzzed. It was Sixth. "You're taking this better than I expected. No fighting for us?" Guess I was right about finding someone better. I didn't respond. Not yet. Mac called me back. "Okay, bro, got the scoop. Your wife's seeing some guy named Zeke. He works for a competitor, but came in as a client about 3 months ago. They've been spotted all over town. At that new wine bar on 7th, the steakhouse downtown, even that Italian place where you guys had your anniversary dinner last year. Classy," I muttered. "It gets better," Mac continued. "This Zeke guy has a reputation. My buddy Dom works in the same industry and says this guy has a pattern. He targets married women who are moving up in their careers, uses them for industry connections and insider info, and then ghosts once he gets what he wants. He's done it at least 3 times before." "So he's using her?" I asked, feeling oddly satisfied. 100%. "But she doesn't know that yet," Mac said. "Dom says he plays the perfect boyfriend. Expensive gifts, fancy restaurants, the whole deal. Meanwhile, he's gathering intel to take back to his actual employer." That gave me an idea. I thanked Mac and hung up, then scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I was looking for. Jen. Jen worked with Six at the same firm. She's this smoking hot brunette with legs for days and an MBA from Wharton. VI's always been insanely jealous of her, constantly complaining about how Jen dresses inappropriately and flirts with everyone's husbands at company events. What Six didn't know was that Jen had been low-key flirting with me for years. Nothing ever happened between us. I was faithful to Six the entire marriage, despite plenty of opportunities. But Jen and I always had this chemistry. She'd find reasons to talk to me at company parties, laugh at all my jokes, touch my arm when we talked. Fax noticed and hated it. I hit call. "Jack, is everything okay?" Jen answered, sounding surprised. "Hey, Jen," I said, trying to sound casual. "Remember that drink you've been suggesting for the past year?" I'm very available tonight. There was a pause, then Jen laughed. Well, this is unexpected. Vi finally loosened your leash? VI's out of the picture, permanently. Another pause. That bar on 9th at 8 o'clock? Perfect. I hung up, feeling like a weight had been lifted. Then I opened my photo app and looked through pictures of VI and me, 8 years together, and she threw it all away for some smooth-talking corporate spy. Part of me was angry, but another part was almost relieved. Maybe I'd been waiting for an excuse to end things. I showered, put on my best jeans and button-down shirt, and headed to meet Jen. The whole Uber ride there, my phone was blowing up with texts from VI. What did you mean by that text? Jack, please respond. We should talk about this like adults. Are you seriously ignoring me right now? I turned my phone to silent and put it away. Time to start the next phase. Jen was already at the bar when I arrived, looking incredible in a little black dress. She stood up to hug me, and I saw at least 3 guys giving me envious looks. We grabbed a table, ordered drinks, and for the first time in months, I actually enjoyed a conversation with a woman. Jen was smart, funny, and didn't make me feel bad about my job. So, what happened with 6? She asked after our second round. I gave her the short version. Her eyes grew wider and wider. Holy shit, she said when I finished. What are you going to do? I shrugged, trying to seem casual. Move on, starting tonight. Jen gave me a look that was part sympathy, part something else. Well, for what it's worth, I always thought she didn't appreciate what she had. We took a selfie with our wine glasses, Jen's idea. She posted it to her Instagram with the caption, "Finally got that drink," tagging the location. I know for sure that VI is following her by the time Jen and I finished dinner, which somehow turned into dessert and a few more drinks. Vi has called me 17 times, and I've ignored all of them. As Jen and I leave the restaurant, I suggest walking her home since it's only a few blocks from her place. She hesitates and asks, "Want to come up?" No pressure, it's still early. Part of me thinks it's too soon, but the other part, the one that saw the photos of VI and Zeke on my couch, thinks life's too short to wait. I say by morning, Vi will have blown up my phone with over 30 messages. Angry, confused, and desperate. I ignore all of them and post a new picture on Instagram. Just a view from Jen's balcony with 2 coffee cups on the table. I caption it, "Great start to a new chapter." After Jen leaves for work, with plans to meet up again that evening, I open my laptop and start emailing some former colleagues, people who might be interested in hearing about a corporate spy named Zeke, who's been gathering insider info through his relationship with an executive at their competitor. By midnight, I've set up meetings with 3 people who can help me dismantle everything Vi thinks she's built. She wanted to play dirty, but I invented the game. Here's something she never figured out. I didn't just help with her career, I practically built it. 5 years ago, Vix was stuck as an assistant account manager, barely making ends meet and constantly overlooked for promotions. She'd come home crying about how Jessica got promoted over her, or how they hired someone from outside instead of promoting her. Always the victim, never realizing maybe she wasn't good enough for the job. I remember one night after another crying fit, I decided to take action. My family isn't mega rich, but we have connections. My Uncle Rob was on the board of directors at a mid-sized investment firm looking to expand its client base. I set up a chance meeting between VI and the hiring manager at a charity event my mom organized. 2 weeks later, VI gets an offer for senior account manager, skipping 2 levels from where she was. She thought it was all because of her great interview skills. But here's the thing, I didn't just make an introduction. I invested a significant chunk of money, $250,000, from my trust fund into the firm under a shell company named Morgan Holdings, using my mom's maiden name. Six never bothered to look into it. She was too excited about her new business cards and corner office to care. She signed whatever the HR lady told her to, including an agreement giving major control to the silent investor who'd provided capital for her division's expansion. Guess who that investor was? Yep, me. Anyway, I wake up in my hotel room after spending the night at Jen's place. By the way, that girl is wild. What she can do with her tongue should be illegal in at least 12 states. I'm putting together my game plan. First move, figure out what Via's been up to with the company's finances. Remember how I set up her accounts? I also made sure I was listed as an advisory consultant on most of them, which gave me access to see what she was spending. Not that I ever used it, until now. I log in and see the spending is insane. A $1,000 designer couch, an $8,000 watch, and a weekend trip to Napa Valley for a client that cost over $5,000. All charged to the company card and disguised as business expenses. Then I get a call from VI's sister. We've always gotten along, and she's the only normal one in VI's family. She says, "Jack, we need to talk." I'm still scrolling through the expense reports. "What's up?" I ask. She tells me, "I can't keep quiet anymore. Zeke, the guy Six is seeing, is bad news. He's done this before with multiple women. He gets them to share confidential info and then disappears." I'm not even surprised. "How do you know all this?" I ask. "Because VI's been asking me to hold on to documents for her in case things go south. I looked at them last night, and it's bad. She's been moving serious money around, hiding big purchases as business expenses, and there are emails with Zeke discussing confidential client information. Now we're getting somewhere." I ask her to send me copies. "Already did," she says. I check my email and find dozens of documents showing VI's embezzling company funds and leaking confidential information to Zeke. Info that could literally tank the company if it got into the wrong hands. The best part? It's all on her work email, the one I set up for her, with the recovery number going to my phone because she was too busy to deal with security when she started. It's time to make some moves. First, I call my lawyer Dave, who I play golf with sometimes and helped with my parents' estate planning. I give him the rundown and email over the most important documents. "This is serious stuff, Jack," he says. "She could face jail time for this." I reply, "I'm not looking to put her in jail. I just want to make sure she doesn't walk away with everything we've built." After a minute of silence, Dave agrees to a plan. I text Six. "Just had an interesting chat about those expense reports, especially the ones from last month. That couch looks great in our living room, by the way. Italian, right? The company might want to know where the money came from." Her response is immediate. "What are you talking about?" I add, "Oh, and Zeke's history with the company makes for fascinating reading. 3 settlements in 2 years. Impressive resume." I watch her typing, then the message disappears. She texts, "Jack, we need to talk after my meeting with the ethics committee tomorrow." Her panic is clear. I don't respond and instead post another picture with Jen, this time from breakfast at a fancy place downtown. Jen looks amazing, her hair tousled and eyes bright. The post gets 50 likes in 10 minutes, including from several mutual friends. VI's sister calls again, freaking out. She called me screaming about some ethics meeting and asked if I took her documents. I play dumb. "Jack, I'm worried about what she might do," she says. I tell her, "Just stay clear of her today. Things are about to get complicated." I spend the rest of the day making calls and setting things up for tomorrow. I've got meetings with the CEO of the company, their security guy, and the money lady who's been questioning VI's spending for months. It's time to drop the hammer. By evening, everything's in place. Jen and I meet for dinner at a quiet Thai place where no one from the company will see us. She's wearing a tight green dress that makes me forget about revenge for 2 hours. Over dessert, she asks, "So, what's the plan for tomorrow?" I reply, "Full nuclear option." I shake my head. "Control demolition. I don't want to destroy the company. Just extract Six from it with minimal damage to everyone else." She raises an eyebrow. "That's surprisingly merciful of you." I shrug. The company didn't do anything wrong, and there are people there who depend on their jobs, especially me. She gives me that look again, the one that's been making me forget my name since last night. My phone buzzes with a notification from the home security system, motion detected in the home office. I open the app and see VI frantically going through filing cabinets, looking for evidence to prove how deeply I've been involved with her career. What she doesn't know is that all the important documents are locked in a safe deposit box across town. The safe behind our honeymoon photo she's currently trying to open contains nothing but a note I left there months ago. "You should have read the fine print." I show Jen the security feed, and she nearly spits out her wine laughing. Oh my God, she looks insane. Vi calls 7 more times that night. I let them all go to voicemail. The last one, she's actually crying. Jack, please, whatever you think you know, it's not what it looks like. Zeke isn't who you think he is. He's been helping me with my career. Please just call me back before you do something we'll both regret. Too late for that. 6. About 8 years too late. I fall asleep in Jen's bed with a strange sense of peace. Knowing the next day, Fox will learn exactly who I am. And it's not the pushover she thinks I am. The last thing I do before falling asleep is send her a final text. Check your email at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Pay special attention to the attachment from March 15th, the day you signed the partnership agreement 5 years ago. The one you clearly never read carefully enough? Game on. I wake up at 5:30 a.m. feeling like it's Christmas morning. Today's the day 6 realizes who she's been married to all these years. I carefully slide out of bed, trying not to wake Jen, and grab my laptop. First, I send that email I promised, attaching the partnership agreement from 5 years ago, where she's clearly listed as a managing partner whose position depends on approval from Morgan Holdings. The one giving me the authority to review all financial decisions. I also attach screenshots of her expense reports for the last 3 months, with all the personal purchases highlighted in bright yellow. I send the screenshots of her emails with Zeke, discussing confidential client info she had no right to share. I hit send at exactly 8 a.m. Then, I open the home security app to watch the show. Sure enough, 6 is in the kitchen, looking like a mess. She picks up her phone, opens the email, and I wish the camera had better resolution. Watching her face drain of color is priceless. She drops into a chair, scrolling frantically through the attachments, and starts calling me again. I decline the call and text, "No time to talk. Meeting the CEO in 30 minutes. That gets her moving. She runs upstairs to presumably shower and change. Meanwhile, I'm getting dressed, putting on my best suit, the one VI always said made me look intimidatingly successful. I grab an Uber to the Vis Company headquarters, a fancy glass building downtown that screams, "We manage rich people's money here." The receptionist buzzes me into the main conference room where the CEO and executive team are already waiting. I'll refer to her as Gloria, the woman obsessed with money who's always regarded VI with suspicion. Jack, the CEO, rose to greet me, extending his hand. "Thanks for bringing this to our attention." The door swung open abruptly, and VI burst in, looking like she'd been hit by a tornado. Hair still damp, blouse buttoned wrong, an utter mess. "Jack, what are you doing here?" she demanded, her voice cracking when she noticed me. I gave her a polite smile. "Just showing your bosses how you've been stealing from the company and leaking secrets," I replied. Fix stammered, then suddenly her eyes narrowed. "I saw you with Jen last night. You posted about it on Instagram. Is that what this is about?" I ignored her accusation and slid the folder toward the CEO, which contained bank statements, expense reports, and emails revealing everything. "This is revenge because I cheated," Six shouted, her voice growing louder. "You're my coworker, and now you're trying to ruin me." The CEO cleared his throat. "Vivian, your personal drama isn't our concern. However, the $122,000 couch and leaked documents certainly are. This is all because of Jen!" Six screamed, completely losing her composure. "She's wanted him for years. They planned this together." Gloria interjected coolly. "Zeke Marshall was caught trying to access our servers this morning. Security has already escorted him from the premises." Six collapsed into a chair, deflated. That's not possible," she whispered. "But how did you get all of this?" she finally asked, looking defeated. "Morgan Holdings," I replied calmly. "That's me. I'm your silent investor." As realization hit her, the color drained from her face. You set me up?" "No, you set yourself up. I just built in a failsafe," I replied as security escorted her out. She looked back over her shoulder, tears streaming down her face. "Was it worth it, destroying me just to be with her? How long have you two been planning this?" "This has nothing to do with Jen," I answered. "It's about your choices, the embezzlement, the corporate espionage. The cheating was just the beginning." "You'll regret this," she spat at Jack. After security escorted Six out, the CEO turned to me. "That was intense. You okay?" "I'm fine," I said. Just glad it's over. We owe you for catching this, he said. Could have cost us millions if it had continued. We'll handle it quietly. She can either resign or face charges. We finished up in 20 minutes. As I was about to leave, the CEO added, "For what it's worth, I'm sorry about your marriage, but the company appreciates your discretion." I nodded and left. No need to explain that I'd been planning for this moment for years. When I stepped outside, my phone exploded with notifications. Mac had texted, "Dude, check your security cameras. VI's destroying your house." I opened the app to see Six throwing things around, screaming. She was tearing through drawers and smashing picture frames. I couldn't hear the audio, but it was clear she was completely out of control. I texted, "Ma, let her rage." Nothing important there anyway. By the time I met Jen for lunch, Vi had called 37 times and left 14 voicemails. The last one made me pause. "You and that. You've been planning this all along, haven't you? I saw the way she looked at you at the Christmas party. Was she with you then too? Is that why you set me up? You wanted her instead, so you destroyed me. I will burn your life down. I swear to God. You think you're so smart with your Morgan holdings. I will make you regret this. Both of you." I was still staring at my phone when Jen reached across the table and took my hand. "Everything okay? You look stressed." I deleted the voicemail and squeezed her hand. "Vi's not taking it well. She thinks we planned this together." Jen raised an eyebrow. "Seriously? I didn't even know you were interested until you called me yesterday." "Yeah, well, it's easier for her to blame us than accept responsibility," I said. "Don't worry about it." "So what happens next?" Jen asked. I smiled. "Now we move to phase 2. And just like that, phase 2 began the very next morning when I met with Dave, my lawyer, at his downtown office. The guy looked like he hadn't slept in days, but his eyes lit up when I walked in. "Jack, perfect timing. I've been reviewing your situation and, well, it's beautiful, legally speaking." I took a seat across from him. "Beautiful how?" "That partnership agreement Six signed 5 years ago. It's bulletproof. The ethical violations clause triggers an immediate review of all personal assets acquired during the partnership period." I couldn't help but grin. "And what exactly does that mean for Six?" Dave started ticking off points on his fingers. "The house purchased with a loan you guaranteed through your family's bank connections. Her BMW, the company lease you arranged. The vacation property in Tahoe, a joint asset but primarily funded by your investments. Even her designer wardrobe, mostly purchased using company funds that you helped her access. So basically everything," I summarized. "Basically everything," Dave confirmed. "She'll be left with her personal savings account, about $118,000 based on the statements you provided, and those student loans you've been paying." "You mean the student loans I stopped paying last month?" I corrected him. Dave's eyebrows shot up. "Damn, you really thought of everything." "I learned from the best," I said, nodding. We spent the next hour mapping out the strategy. By noon, papers were filed, accounts were frozen, and the wheels of justice started turning slowly but surely in my direction. I headed back to the hotel to find Jen waiting in the lobby, looking stunning as always. "How'd it go with the lawyer?" she asked as we walked to a nearby cafe for lunch. "Let's just say Six is about to learn what financial ruin really means." Jen winced. "You sound brutal." "Deserved but brutal," I shrugged. "She didn't just cheat on me, she tried to ruin my career too. If I hadn't fed her fake information about those projects, I could have been implicated in insider trading. I could have faced actual jail time." "When you put it that way," Jen nodded slowly. "Still, people at work already think I'm the reason your marriage ended." "Let them think whatever they want," I replied, reaching for her hand across the table. "We know the truth, that VI destroyed our marriage all by herself. And you're just the smart, gorgeous woman who happened to be in the right place at the right time." Jen smiled at that. "Smooth talker. No wonder VI's telling everyone you manipulated her." My phone buzzed. VI showed up at my apartment at 3 a.m., completely hysterical, screaming about how I betrayed her by giving you those documents. I arranged to meet her at the hotel lobby after lunch. When she arrived, she looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. "You okay?" I asked, genuinely concerned. "S has always been the normal one in V's family," she said. "I'm fine," I told her. She betrayed herself by cheating on you and committing actual crimes. S rubbed her temples. She's staying with our parents now. They think you're the devil. By the way, she convinced them you set her up from the beginning. I shrugged. Not from the beginning, just from the moment I realized she was the kind of person who might need setting up. S actually laughed at that. You know what's the craziest part? Zeke dumped her the second things went south. Called her damaged goods and blocked her number. After everything she risked for him? Not surprised, I said. He got what he wanted, or thought he did. About that fancy couch, that $112,000 Italian monstrosity 6'6" bought to impress Zeke. Turns out she didn't just use regular company funds. She used money from a special account set up for the upcoming merger, the same merger Zeke was gathering intel on for that company. So not only did she embezzle, but she literally stole from the exact project her boyfriend was trying to sabotage. You can't make this up, I said. I knew Six would do something like this. 5 years of marriage taught me that she couldn't resist flaunting wealth. Fancy cars, designer bags, Instagram perfect vacations. 3 months before my Portland trip, I started laying a trap. Every conversation about work, every deal I mentioned over dinner was carefully planted misinformation. The real projects were locked behind NDAs she never knew existed. So when she fed Zeke what she thought was insider info, VI's company ended up chasing ghosts, wasting millions on deals that never existed. Everything unraveled fast. Within 2 weeks, Zeke got fired. Turns out, once you're exposed as a corporate spy, no one wants you. Vi, realizing her life was crumbling, bombarded me with desperate messages blaming me for ruining her. I had Dave send a cease and desist, and that was that. She even tried fighting the prup. But the judge dismissed it outright, citing her crimes. The truth is she made her choices, and in the end, the better choice was always mine. Speaking of better choices, karma delivered one right to my door. A courier showed up with a padded envelope a few weeks later, inside a house key and a note in VI's handwriting. I understand now? You didn't just help build my career. You designed it, signed it with a self-destruct sequence. No apology, just recognition. Whatever, the divorce is final? Mag drops by my new downtown loft for coffee. Divorce looks good on you, he jokes. Revenge looks better, I reply. Was all this worth it, though? He asks. The years of planning, setting up those fail-safes? It wasn't about revenge, I say. It was protection, like insurance you hope you never have to use. Still, did you have to take everything? S says she's working at Target now. I shrug. She made her choices. Everything after was just consequences. What happened to that Zeke guy? Unemployable in finance. Moved to Florida. Florida man strikes again, Mac laughs. And you and Jen? Right on cue. Jen walks in with takeout. Things between us are good. We're taking it slow, but she practically lives here now. No games, no manipulation, just something real. Later, I show Jen Six's note. Are you going to respond? She asks. Nothing to say. It's over. And it is. My career exploded upward, leading the expansion division after our merger tripled the stock price. My options are now worth 7 figures. Dix could have shared in all this. Instead, she's in her childhood bedroom working retail. The last piece of irony, that $112,000 couch Sphinx bought with company money now sits in my corner office, a trophy symbolizing her downfall. Vi texted yesterday. Saw your promotion announcement. Cried for hours this morning from an unknown number. You planned this all along, didn't you? I didn't respond. Some questions answered themselves. Would I have triggered those fail-safes if she hadn't cheated? Number I built them for protection, not destruction. But once she crossed that line and put my career at risk, all bets were off. You know what the best revenge is? Jen asked last night. What? Living well, she murmured. And you're crushing it. Right. The best revenge isn't destroying someone's world. It's letting them destroy it themselves, thinking they're winning. Then building something better from the ruins. Fee thought she found someone better. Turns out I did. Sometimes the best things in life aren't free. They're just paid for by someone else's mistakes. This is the story titled I Came Home Early and Heard My Girlfriend Brag About Cheating on Me. I walked out without saying anything, and now she's desperate to find me. Hi everyone, before we get started, I'd like to ask a quick favor. If you enjoy content like this, please hit the subscribe button. It's free, supports the channel, and ensures you won't miss out on amazing videos. Now let's dive in. Hey Reddit, the past few weeks have been completely chaotic. And honestly, I'm not sure what to do with myself. I thought I'd share my story because maybe getting it out there will help me process everything. I'm Drew, 32, and I thought I had my life figured out, at least when it came to relationships. I've been seeing Olivia for 2 years. We met at a Christmas party a couple of years ago, and at the time, it felt like one of those meant-to-be moments. Looking back now, I realize I was just naive. Anyway, let me start from the beginning. The party where we met was hosted by a mutual friend, Jason. Jason and I have been friends since high school, and Olivia worked for him. I wasn't even planning to go to the party that night. Work had been tough, and I was hoping to just stay in. But Jason convinced me to go, saying I needed to meet new people and get out more. So I went, and there she was. Olivia was laughing with a group, and when Jason saw me, he dragged me over to introduce us. We hit it off right away. She laughed at my silly jokes, asked about my hobbies, and seemed genuinely interested in me. I left the party with her number and a big smile on my face. A few weeks later, we went on our first date. Nothing fancy, just a burger place and a walk in the park, but it was perfect. She was funny, smart, and way more grounded than I expected someone like her to be. We really clicked, and it felt like this could turn into something serious. And it did. A few months later, we became a couple, and everything felt right. But there was one thing that always bothered me: her younger sister, Chloe. From the first time I met her, I could tell she didn't like me. She wasn't overtly rude, but she had a way of making comments that felt like jabs. At one of the first family dinners I attended, she said, "Wow, Olivia, you really went for the low-maintenance look, huh?" I didn't get what that meant, but I brushed it off, thinking, yeah, maybe she was just protective of her sister or messing with me. But Chloe kept it up, finding ways to undermine me. If I mentioned something I cared about, like hiking, she'd roll her eyes or make sarcastic comments. Once, she even brought up Olivia's exes, saying, "Remember when you and Mark went to Cancun? That sounded like such a fun trip." It felt like she was constantly trying to remind me that Olivia could do better, or that I wasn't good enough. I mentioned this to Olivia a few times, asking why Chloe acted this way, but Olivia just laughed it off and said, "That's just Chloe, she's like that with everyone." But it didn't feel like that. Chloe was always nice to everyone else, just not me. I started dreading any time we had to be around her, but for Olivia's sake, I dealt with it. Despite Chloe's attitude, my relationship with Olivia kept moving forward. After about a year, we moved in together into a small house just outside the city. Life felt stable, like we were building something real. I wasn't one of those guys who felt the need to rush into marriage, but after 2 years, I started thinking about proposing. Olivia was the one, or so I thought. This year, Jason was hosting another Christmas party, and it felt like the perfect opportunity to ask her. It was where we met, and Jason had always been an important part of our story. I talked to Olivia's parents a few weeks before and asked for their blessing, and they were thrilled. I spent weeks planning it, picked out the ring, rehearsed what I was going to say, and even coordinated with Jason to make sure everything would be perfect. I imagined Olivia's face when I got down on one knee in front of all our friends, how happy she'd be, how we'd laugh about the journey that led us there. I was sure I was doing the right thing, but life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. All my plans and excitement felt like building a house on shaky ground. I didn't realize it at the time, but the foundation of our relationship wasn't what I thought, and the cracks were about to show in the worst way. About a month ago, the guys and I planned a weekend fishing trip to a spot near the lake we loved. It was quiet, off the grid, and the perfect place to unwind. We packed up coolers, grabbed some gear, and just hung out. I had been looking forward to this trip for weeks, needing a break from the grind of life. Olivia wasn't thrilled about me being gone for the whole weekend, but I told her it was important to me, and she seemed to understand, or at least pretended to. I was driving out that Saturday morning, my truck loaded up with everything I thought I'd need when I realized I'd left my tackle box in the garage. Now, I know it sounds trivial, but it was brand new, a gift from Olivia, and I'd spent a lot on it. I couldn't fish without it, plus the guys would definitely give me a hard time if I showed up without it. So I turned the truck around and headed back home. I was annoyed about losing time, but I figured I'd grab the tackle box and get back on the road quickly. Olivia had mentioned she'd be out shopping with Chloe, so I wasn't expecting anyone to be home. Honestly, I was relieved. I didn't want to deal with the whole, "Why are you back so soon?" conversation. Olivia could be blunt, and if she thought something was stupid, she'd say it. I thought it would be easier to just go in and out without any awkwardness. When I pulled into the driveway around 3 p.m., Olivia's car was there, which surprised me. I thought maybe their shopping trip had ended early. I didn't think much of it, but parked the truck and went inside, focused on grabbing the tackle box and getting back on the road. As soon as I walked in, the house felt off. You know when something just feels wrong? The air seemed heavier, like an unsettling quiet. I heard faint voices from the living room, so I figured Olivia and Chloe were hanging out. It wasn't unusual for Chloe to be over. Olivia liked having her around, and I usually kept my distance when she was there. But as I walked through the house, I realized the voices were louder than I thought. They weren't just chatting, they were laughing. But not the light, friendly kind. It was more of that mean, gossipy laugh. I stopped dead in my tracks halfway down the hall. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but something about their conversation made me freeze. I couldn't help but listen. Chloe spoke first. "You seriously telling me he didn't notice?" "Not even a little?" She sounded almost impressed, but in that mocking way. Olivia's laugh followed, softer, but still amused. "Of course not. Drew doesn't notice anything unless it's right in front of him. He's so focused on his little hobbies, he has no idea what's going on." My chest tightened. I didn't know what they were talking about, but the way they said my name, it felt wrong, like I was the punchline of a joke I wasn't part of. Chloe wasn't done. "I still don't get how you put up with him. He's the most boring guy I've ever met. Always talking about fishing or hiking or whatever. God, Olivia, you could do so much better. He's so safe." Olivia's tone wasn't affectionate or loving. It was dismissive. "Safe?" Chloe replied. "Come on, you deserve more than boring. Scott's way better." My heart raced. "Scott? Who's Scott?" I thought. Olivia's laugh hit me like a punch. "I know, I didn't plan for it to happen, but Scott! He's just different." And in bed, "Oh my God, it's insane. Drew doesn't even come close." Chloe continued, "Then what are you waiting for? Just break it off with Drew already. Scott is clearly the better choice." Olivia sighed. "I can't." "Not yet. I know he's planning something big for Christmas. I don't want to ruin it yet." I wanted to smash something, scream anything to release the anger building inside me. But instead, I took a deep breath and left the house. As I shut the door, I heard Olivia call out, "Drew, is that you?" I didn't answer. I got in my car and drove away. She called me a few minutes later, but I ignored it. By the time I was back on the road, she had sent a string of messages. "Where are you? I thought I heard the door. Are you okay? Please call me." I didn't go back to the fishing trip. I couldn't. Instead, I drove aimlessly for hours, trying to process what the hell had just happened. It was like everything I thought I knew about Olivia, and our relationship was suddenly up in the air, and I didn't know what to do with that. Eventually, I ended up at a motel and checked in for the night. It wasn't much, but it gave me a place to think without Olivia's presence hanging over me. I turned off my phone, ignoring the constant flood of messages and missed calls. I couldn't deal with her right now. What could she possibly say to justify what I had overheard? I spent the whole night in that motel, staring at the ceiling, playing the conversation over and over in my head like some twisted highlight reel. Every laugh, every word felt like a dagger. The way Olivia spoke about me with Chloe wasn't just disrespectful, it was cruel. And hearing about Scott hit differently. Now there was a name, a face to attach to her betrayal. It wasn't just some abstract mistake I could brush off. She had been making deliberate choices to lie to me, laugh behind my back, and plan her escape while I was planning our future. Looking back now, there were signs, subtle ones, but I ignored them. Olivia had been more occupied than usual, with spontaneous drinks after work with her colleagues, unplanned shopping trips with Chloe. At the time, I didn't think much of it. She wasn't the clingy type, and I respected her independence. But now, I couldn't stop wondering how many of those nights were actually spent with Scott. Was she seeing him when she was out with Chloe? Was Chloe covering for her all along? I couldn't shake the feeling that Chloe had been part of this from the start, encouraging her, enabling her, and likely enjoying every moment of it. I hadn't told anyone, not even my friends, because I didn't know how to begin that conversation. Hey, turns out my girlfriend of 2 years has been cheating on me with some guy from the gym. It sounded pathetic in my mind, and I didn't want their pity. I wanted to handle this on my own, at least for now. By the time I left the motel, I had a plan, or at least the beginnings of one. I wasn't ready to confront Olivia yet. That would come later, on my terms. First, I needed to figure out what to do about our living situation. The lease was in my name, so legally, I had control. I wasn't going to let her stay in the house while I sorted things out. She didn't deserve that. If anything, I wanted her out of my space as soon as possible. When I got back to the house that afternoon, the first thing I noticed was that Olivia's car wasn't in the driveway. Perfect. I parked my truck and went inside. I headed straight to the spare room where we kept the trash bags. If I was going to do this, I needed to do it now. I grabbed a couple of bags and started tossing her things. Clothes, shoes, makeup, anything that clearly belonged to her went straight into the trash. I just wanted her stuff out of my house as quickly as possible. I hauled everything to the front porch and left it there. Then I went back inside, found the locksmith's contact details from a year ago, and called him to change the locks. He showed up within an hour. I didn't explain, just told him I needed the job done urgently. Once the locks were changed, I felt a small sense of relief. It wasn't much, but it was a step toward regaining control. Before leaving, I quickly wrote a note. Nothing dramatic, just a simple, "You know what you did. Don't contact me," taped it to the door, and locked up, feeling the weight of the keys in my hand, like they were the last connection to the life I had just discarded. With everything packed and the locks changed, I needed some space, so I decided to head to a retreat center I had heard of. It was 5 hours away, and I needed that kind of long drive. The retreat offered a quiet spot to think. No phone, no distractions, just me and my thoughts. That's exactly what I needed. On my way out of town, I stopped for coffee and sat in the parking lot, scrolling through my phone. As expected, there were dozens of missed calls and texts from Olivia. At first, they were casual. "Hey, where are you? And did you come home last night?" But as the hours passed, they grew more urgent. "Drew, I'm really worried. Please call me. What's going on? Why aren't you answering?" And finally, "Where the hell are you? We need to talk." I didn't respond to any of them. I wasn't ready to talk to her yet. What could I say? "Oh, hey, I overheard you talking about Scott and how I don't measure up. Want to explain?" No, that wasn't how I wanted to handle this. She didn't deserve an explanation from me, not after what she'd done. As I drove toward the retreat, I thought about what would happen when she came home and saw her stuff on the porch. I imagined her reaction. Probably shock, maybe some tears. Part of me hoped she'd feel embarrassed, like she'd finally realized how badly she'd messed up. But another part of me didn't care how she felt. This wasn't about her anymore. It was about me and what I needed to do to move forward. By the time I got to the retreat, I was emotionally drained. I spent the next 2 days there, honestly not thinking much about what I would do next. I just knew I wasn't rushing back into the mess I had left behind. Let her figure out why her stuff was on the porch. When I finally returned to town, I was sure of one thing. Olivia wasn't going to manipulate her way out of this. I wasn't going to give her a chance to lie or cry her way back into my good graces. If anything, I felt a cold clarity. Driving back, I realized she wasn't worth the energy. Whatever fake version of herself she'd been presenting for 2 years was over, and I wasn't playing along anymore. As I pulled into my driveway, it was obvious she'd been there. The things I had left on the porch were gone, and the note I had taped to the door was missing too. That didn't surprise me. What did surprise me was the stack of envelopes wedged into the screen door, letters all addressed to me, all from Olivia. I didn't even open them. I just shook my head, unlocked the new lock, and went inside. After clearing out her last traces from the house, I sat down on the couch and pulled out my phone. I hadn't checked it since before the retreat. And when I turned it on, the notifications started flooding in. Texts, missed calls, voicemails. It was a barrage of desperation. The text began calm. Hey, I came home and saw my stuff. Can we talk? I don't know what's going on, but I'm worried. But they quickly turned frantic. Drew, what the hell? Why is all my stuff outside? Please call me. I'm so sorry for whatever I did. And finally, this is childish, Drew. You're acting like a jerk. At least give me the decency of a conversation. I smirked at that one. Decency? After what I overheard? The irony wasn't lost on me. I didn't respond. Instead, I blocked her number. Done. Simple as that. She didn't deserve an explanation, and I wasn't about to waste my time crafting a long message or arguing on the phone. The next morning, I got a call from Jason, the mutual friend who had introduced me to Olivia at the Christmas party 2 years ago. Jason's one of those friends who's always got your back but doesn't sugarcoat things. When I picked up, his tone was casual, but I could tell he knew something was up. Hey man, everything okay? Olivia's been blowing up my phone. I leaned back in my chair and sighed. Yeah, she's probably freaking out because I threw her out. Jason paused, then let out a low whistle. Damn, what happened? For the first time, I told someone everything. The way I overheard Olivia and Chloe laughing about me, how Olivia admitted to cheating with some guy named Scott, and how Chloe had been encouraging her the whole time. Jason didn't interrupt, which I appreciated. When I finished, he let out a long breath. Wow, that's messed up. Honestly, though, good for you. She didn't deserve you, man. Jason wasn't the type to blindly take sides, so his support meant a lot. In the following days, Olivia didn't stop trying to contact me. She called from different numbers, showed up at the house, and even left letters in my mailbox. Each letter was the same: apologies, excuses, and pleas for another chance. I didn't read most of them, but the few I skimmed all had the same theme. She was sorry. It wasn't what it seemed. She still loved me. Same tired script cheaters always use when they're caught. I wasn't buying it. Chloe also tried reaching out, which made me laugh. Her messages were so clueless, it was almost funny. Hey, I heard Olivia's upset. Maybe you guys should talk. Like she hadn't been the one encouraging Olivia to cheat in the first place. I blocked her too. The next morning, I decided it was time to call Olivia's parents. They had always been kind to me, treating me like family from the moment Olivia and I got serious. Her mom, Linda, would send me home with leftovers after family dinners, and her dad, Tom, loved talking about sports and grilling tips. They genuinely cared. And I thought they deserved to know the truth about what their daughter had been up to. I wanted them to hear it from me, not some twisted version Olivia would likely try to tell them. I wasn't nervous about the call, but I knew it wouldn't be easy. It wasn't exactly a casual conversation. Hey, just thought you should know your daughter's been cheating and her sister's been encouraging it. Still, I dialed Linda's number and she picked up on the second ring. Drew, how are you, sweetheart? It's been a while, she said, her voice as warm as ever. Hi, Linda, I replied, trying to keep my tone steady. Do you have a few minutes to talk? It's important. Of course, she said, sounding concerned. Is everything okay? No, I said bluntly. Not really. I told her everything. How I overheard Olivia and Chloe laughing about me, how Olivia admitted to cheating with some guy named Scott, and how Chloe had been encouraging her the entire time. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I told her exactly what they said, word for word, because I wanted her to understand just how low both of her daughters had stooped. By the time I finished, the line was silent. I thought Linda had hung up, but then I heard a shaky breath. Drew, she said finally, her voice trembling, I don't even know what to say. I can't believe this. Are you sure? I'm sure, I interrupted firmly. Linda started crying. I felt a little bad, but at the same time, I wasn't going to soften the truth. Her daughters had done this, not me. After a few moments, I heard Tom's voice in the background, asking what was wrong. Tom, Linda said, her voice breaking. It's about Olivia and Chloe. There was some muffled noise as Tom took the phone. Drew, what's going on? Linda's in tears over here. So I told him everything again. By the time I finished, he was silent, just like Linda had been. Then, after what felt like forever, he let out a long, heavy sigh. I'm sorry, Drew, he said, his voice low and serious. You didn't deserve that. None of it. I can't believe they... God, I don't even have words. It's not your fault, I said. And I meant it. But I thought you should know. I know how much you both care about your daughters, but I can't stay quiet about this. I'm done being disrespected. You're absolutely right, Tom said, his voice sharp. They crossed a line, and they need to face the consequences. I don't care if they're my daughters. What they did is disgusting. Linda, still crying in the background, chimed in, Drew, I deeply regret that Olivia, despite always being so kind to her and our family, would throw it all away. And Chloe, how could she back something like this? I don't even recognize them anymore. We continued talking for a while. They asked if I was okay, how I was coping, and if there was anything they could do to help. I told them I was fine, better than they might have expected, and that I was moving on regardless of how much Olivia pleaded. Tom assured me they would manage things on their side and made it clear they wouldn't tolerate that kind of behavior in their family. Before we ended the call, Tom said something that stayed with me. Drew, you've always been like a son to us. What Olivia did doesn't change that. You're welcome in our lives anytime, but as far as I'm concerned, she's out. Both of them are. I can't have people like that in my life, even if they're family. I wasn't sure how Olivia's parents would react, but I didn't expect them to sever ties with both of their daughters. It was a bold choice, but honestly, it made me respect them even more. They didn't try to justify or excuse Olivia's actions. They didn't fall back on the blood is thicker than water excuse. They simply saw the situation for what it was and stuck to their principles. It gave me a sense of relief, as though a heavy weight had been lifted, knowing that Olivia and Chloe wouldn't have the support they likely thought they could rely on. Yet, part of me felt sadness, not for them, but for Linda and Tom. They didn't deserve this. They had raised two daughters who turned out to be selfish and deceitful. And now they had to live with that reality. No one should have to go through that. By the time I went to bed that night, I felt more at peace than I had in weeks. Olivia and Chloe might have tried to destroy my life, but I wasn't the one scrambling to fix things. That was on them now. And judging by Tom and Linda's reaction, they were in for a tough road ahead. In the days after my conversation with Olivia's parents, the fallout from her and Chloe's actions began to spread. Tom and Linda weren't the type to make empty promises. When they said they were cutting ties with their daughters, they meant it. I didn't anticipate how far they would go, though. It was satisfying to watch. The first thing I heard was that Olivia had been fired. Jason called me to let me know, well, she's not my employee anymore. I can't keep someone like that around. It's bad for the team, bad for morale, and honestly, I don't want someone who thinks that kind of behavior is okay representing my company. I wasn't expecting her to be fired, but I couldn't pretend I was upset about it. Olivia had always boasted about how much Jason respected her work and how secure her position was. Clearly, her actions had consequences she hadn't seen coming. You didn't have to do that on my account, I said, though a part of me was relieved to know she wasn't going to escape without repercussions. Jason scoffed. This isn't just about you, Drew. I don't tolerate that kind of behavior, period. She crossed a line, and I'm not letting her bring her drama into my workplace. After we hung up, I couldn't help but feel a sense of vindication. Olivia had always been so smug and confident that she could get away with anything. But now, the life she'd built was starting to fall apart. From what I heard through mutual friends and some information from Jason, Olivia tried to play the victim. At first, she told anyone who would listen that I had overreacted and kicked her out without giving her a chance to explain. But as the full story came out thanks to Jason and her parents, people stopped buying her act. She went from being someone everyone admired to someone they pitied, and not in a good way. Chloe's involvement didn't go unnoticed either. Tom and Linda were furious with her for encouraging Olivia's behavior, and they made it clear she wasn't welcome in their home anymore. Chloe had always been the family wild card, unable to hold down a job, constantly borrowing money, and always relying on her parents to bail her out. Tom and Linda cut all financial support to both Olivia and Chloe. They didn't have much of a safety net left. Tom and Linda also didn't hold back when people asked why. According to Jason, Linda told one of her friends at church, "We raised them better than this. If they're going to behave this way, they can do it without our help. Their social circle quickly caught on, and word spread fast. Olivia and Chloe found themselves ostracized by people they'd once relied on for support. Friends stopped returning their calls, invitations to events dried up, and even their Instagram followers started to disappear. Olivia, who had always cared too much about appearances, must have been losing her mind over it. Apparently, Chloe let Olivia stay at her place for a while, but that didn't last long. From what Jason told me, Chloe couldn't handle the constant drama Olivia brought with her. Between Olivia spiraling after losing her job and Chloe struggling to keep up with her own expenses, things fell apart quickly. One night, Jason mentioned that he'd heard through the grapevine that Chloe had finally snapped and kicked Olivia out too. She told her to figure her own crap out, Jason said, almost laughing. I guess being sisters only goes so far when someone's a walking disaster. I didn't feel bad for either of them. They'd made their choices, and now they were dealing with the fallout. If anything, it felt like poetic justice. Olivia and Chloe had spent so much time tearing me down, acting like I was just some safe, boring guy who didn't deserve their respect. Now they were the ones scrambling to pick up the pieces while I was moving on with my life. One night, while I was scrolling through my phone, I received a text from Jason. It was a reminder about the upcoming Christmas party. Hope you're still coming, he wrote. Don't worry, Olivia's not invited. This year's all about good vibes. I stared at the message for a while, debating whether or not to respond. Part of me wanted to skip the party altogether. It felt too tied to everything that had happened. But another part of me thought, why should I let her ruin it for me? It's not her party, and she sure as hell doesn't own the memory of that night. So yeah, I decided to go to the party. Not just to see friends or enjoy the holiday spirit, but to reclaim something. My story, my dignity, my life, whatever you want to call it. If Olivia showed up and tried to stir the pot one last time, well, let's just say I was ready for her. This time, I wasn't the clueless guy standing in the hallway, blindsided by betrayal. I was walking in with my eyes wide open. I guess we'll find out. Thanks for reading until here. I'll update you guys after the Christmas party. All right, Reddit, buckle up because things went down at the Christmas party and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. If you've been following my story, you know where we left off. Let me take you to the party. The night started off fine. Actually, better than fine. Jason knows how to throw a party, and his place looked like something out of a Christmas movie. Twinkling lights, a giant tree in the corner, people in festive sweaters holding drinks and laughing. It felt good to be around friends, people who had my back and knew the real story about what went down with Olivia. I mingled, caught up with old friends, and even met a few new people. I felt like myself again. No baggage, no drama, just Drew. But then, of course, the drama walked in. It was about halfway through the party when the front door swung open, and there she was, Olivia. Standing in the doorway looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her makeup was smudged, her hair was a mess, and she wasn't wearing anything remotely festive. Just a plain black coat and jeans. She looked completely out of place among the crowd of cheerful partygoers. The room went dead silent. Everyone turned to look at her, and you could feel the tension crackling in the air. Jason was the first to speak. What the hell are you doing here? He asked, his tone sharp. I need to talk to Drew, Olivia said, her voice shaky but loud enough for everyone to hear. Please, just for a minute. Jason stepped forward, blocking her path. You weren't invited, Olivia. You need to leave. She ignored him, her eyes darting around the room until they landed on me. Drew, she said, her voice breaking. Please, I just need to talk to you. Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Now, here's the thing. Old me, the guy I was a month ago, probably would have folded. He would have given her those 5 minutes because he wanted to believe the best in people, even when they didn't deserve it. But new me, the guy standing there with a room full of supportive friends and zero patience for her nonsense? Yeah, that guy wasn't about to play along. I crossed my arms and stared at her. Talk about what, Olivia? I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. You've already said everything I needed to know. You just didn't think I was listening. Her face crumpled, and for a second I thought she might actually turn around and leave. But no! She took a shaky step forward and started pleading, her voice cracking with every word. Drew, I made a mistake! A huge mistake! I was stupid, and I didn't realize what I had until I lost it. Please, just give me a chance to explain. Jason cut in again, his voice firm. Olivia, I'm serious. You need to go. This isn't the place for this. She spun around to face him, tears streaming down her face now. Jason, please. I just need 5 minutes with him. Just 5 minutes, and I'll leave. Jason looked like he was about to lose it, but I raised a hand to stop him. It's fine, I said. Let her say what she needs to say. You could hear a pin drop as I walked toward her. Everyone was watching, waiting to see what would happen. Olivia wiped at her face, trying to compose herself as I stopped a few feet away from her. Go ahead, I said. Say whatever it is you think will fix this. She took a deep breath, her whole body shaking. Drew, I was an idiot. I let Chloe get in my head and I made mistakes I can't take back. But I swear it didn't mean anything. Scott didn't mean anything. None of it did. You're the one I love, Drew. You've always been the one. I stared at her unblinking. You love me? I asked, my voice calm but cutting. Is that what you were thinking when you called me boring? When you laughed about how clueless I was? Or how about when you said Scott was insane in bed and I didn't even come close? Was that love, Olivia? She flinched like I'd slapped her. I didn't mean any of that, she whispered. I was stupid, Drew. I was trying to impress Chloe and I... Stop, I said, cutting her off. Don't blame Chloe for your choices. She might have encouraged you, but you're the one who made those decisions. You're the one who lied, cheated, and then laughed about it. Her tears were falling freely now, and she dropped her voice so only I could hear. I'm begging you, Drew. I don't have anyone else. Chloe kicked me out. My parents won't talk to me. You're all I have left. I stepped back, letting her words hang in the air for a moment before I replied, And whose fault is that, Olivia? Because it sure as hell isn't mine. At that point, Jason had had enough. He stepped forward, gesturing to one of his friends near the door. Time to go, he said firmly. Two of Jason's friends gently but firmly escorted Olivia out, ignoring her weak protests and pleas. The door shut behind her, and just like that, the tension in the room evaporated. Someone cranked up the music, and people started talking again. But the energy had definitely shifted. Jason walked over to me, clapping a hand on my shoulder. You good? He asked. I nodded. Yeah, I said, feeling strangely calm. I'm good. And you know what? I really was. Watching Olivia crash and burn like that didn't hurt. If anything, it felt like closure. I'd spent 2 years of my life with someone who didn't deserve me, but now I was finally free. So that's the story. I don't know what Olivia is doing now. And honestly, I don't care. She made her choices, and now she's dealing with the consequences. As for me, I'm moving forward. I've got good friends, a supportive community, and a life that's finally my own again. That's all I need.